Hello and welcome. This is going to be an overview of stores and store locators, proximity searches, GeoIP lookups, etc. within an e-commerce platform, and in this particular case, the Clarity e-commerce platform. Today, we're going to take a look at a few examples, and we're going to talk about industry-specific nuances and basically give an overview of some of the facets that might make sense. Now, of course, as always, there may be some areas that you're going to benefit from that you haven't thought of or seen before for your particular space. And we'll provide some options at the end of this video for next steps and how you might be able to get a catered assessment of how you can use stores, locators, proximity searches, and the list goes on for your particular business. Okay, let's get into it. Okay, so first of all, we just want to go over a very high level example here of a store locator and just kind of the ability to do a lookup based on zip code. And this is going to be a proximity search. And this uses a really nice, basically, set of equations that are really well understood within the industry that does essentially a perimeter search and a proximity search, rather, for a particular location. And we can put all of these locations into the database and have the lat long of the locations auto-calculated, so you don't have to worry about calculating those. This can be based on the basic address information that we have. And this can be international, so not just in a particular country, but international as well. Now, this can be used for a lot of purposes. A lot of times we'll see this used for retail stores where we're doing a buy online, pick up in store, for example. And that is absolutely a common use case. But a few other use cases that we see quite often are going to be fulfillment and choosing a fulfillment center and possibly getting an optimized lead time. Possibly doing just a lookup for a location that we want to get directions to, for example. We may want to have the opportunity to go tour a facility or actually go visit a location, possibly to do business on site, that kind of a thing. In addition to that, there are other scenarios where items have to go through intermodal shipping, and we need to be able to calculate the proximity or the distance and build basically a path for something to travel on. And really, the list is limitless. I mean, there are a lot of scenarios. For some of our clients, we actually optimize their delivery routes based on times of the year using AI to feed back into different locations and the amount of resources that they need on a service schedule based on essentially delivery route optimization. And really interesting stuff. But the point is that we can basically do anything you might need. And this is just meant to show you a few examples of kind of common scenarios. So a very common scenario is zip code and then proximity, and then basically looking for a store. Now, once you have essentially kind of gotten the store set, you may also be interested in seeing things like what their hours are, whether they're open today, that kind of a thing, and then possibly getting directions as this is showing. Now, another use case, and we'll go into this in a minute, is to actually then identify inventory that you're looking for at that particular location. And we'll kind of go into an example of that in just a moment. Typically, whenever someone is looking to set their store location, they're going to have different options for putting in their information. Here you can see someone is just blindly able to put in their zip code. And in this alternative example, we're using a GeoIP lookup and we're making recommendations. And then we can allow them to change or see all locations and then change their particular store. So here you can see they can select a store to make it their store. And then once they have a store that is their store at the time, they can shop that location. Now we can persist this information. We can persist it in different ways. Eventually, at some point, cookies may become outdated in the sense that they're insecure or they're deemed insecure. And so we can persist the data either through cookies, through a local storage, through a basically IP address and footprint of the visitor caching mechanism. And really the list goes on, and we can persist this information for the user in a very convenient way so that when they come back to the site, they're going to be presented with the same store that they already selected. Okay, now let's take a look at a real life example and kind of get into what that looks like. Okay, so in this example, you're going to see a pretty traditional scenario where we have a store locator and a product lookup integrated together. Now, this is a pretty familiar, buy online, pick up in store, or BOPIS type of situation. But this particular offering, you can see, is allowing them to use their location or they can put their information in city, state, or zip, and then find stores based on proximity. This particular view allows them to drag the map and then select a store. And then once they've selected a store, it also looks for proximate locations nearby and presents the user with information based on the inventory. And then they can also select a store and then see the hours and the contact information. Pretty handy. And they can then toggle which store they want to then add to the cart from. So, really a powerful interface here. And this really sets the store for the user. Now, once the store is set, whenever they go to the search view and they're filtering through the search, you can see that they can see if the item is available for ship to home or ship to store. So they can kind of go through this grid view and see that information. Whenever they're on the product detail page, they can also view this information as well. So they can see if it's available for store pickup, ship to home, or ship to store, and whether or not it's free or not for them to go with that modality or ability, the form of fulfillment essentially. And in this particular case, they also have the option to change the store on the product details page. So basically, if something isn't available for store pickup, they can ship it to home, and they can look at what the stock is and the lead time is by toggling to that, or they can ship it to store from a warehouse and then go pick it up in the store. Now, usually this is a really interesting option because possibly ship to home would be expensive from a shipping perspective, whereas store pickup wouldn't be because, or ship to store, because there's probably a logistical fulfillment that's already happening from a warehouse to the store, and it just might occur on a weekly basis. So if somebody is receiving a shipment anyway, and they just add additional items to that logistics path, basically a weekly restocking or transfer of items, etc., that already occurs, then they may want to fill that truck up. They may want to complete the load essentially within their network. So that's why the ship to store is a really valuable option. So we can dynamically adjust the pricing from free to having a cost based on how expensive it is and what makes sense for the business. And we can dynamically trigger this based on the locations, the warehouses, based on inventory levels, and just based on flags that your administrators can set within the admin system. Okay, so let's take a look at another scenario here. Now, this particular user has this item added to their cart, and here you can see the three different options when it's in the cart. They have one that's set to store pickup, and there are three in stock. Now, whenever they complete this order, those three will then be pulled from inventory so that a retail customer won't be able to purchase these items. So they'll actually be moved, transferred within the store to a pickup in store, basically location. And then they also have the ability to ship to home. And here we're just confirming their home address. And then they also have the option to ship to store. And again, just a confirmation of the hours of the store and the location so they can decide if that's where they want it shipped. They can also change the store or update their address. Pretty cool stuff, pretty powerful. The last piece that we want to show is whenever someone does add the item to their cart, it's also, again, going to give them the option to see how many are in stock today, how far away this is from them. And basically, if they want, they can check nearby stores, again, giving this type of a display. So this is just one example that we wanted you to see. And hopefully that helps kind of give some more detail for what the possibilities are with the store locator married to an e-commerce system that feeds in from a multi-warehouse, literally hundreds of retail location infrastructure that's all feeding this site. And the users are getting that real time, and they really don't even know what's happening behind the scenes, but it's a direct integration to the ERPs and real-time feeds so that all of this can happen seamlessly for the user, and they just get the most logical, reasonable output from the store locator integrated with e-commerce. Okay, let's wrap this up now. And really the main thing that we want to say here is that from a business perspective, there are a lot of scenarios that make sense for store locators. This isn't just for retail scenarios, although it, of course, is very popular. The other thing that we want to point out is that we also have omni-channel capabilities and generally the ability to expose these APIs securely. So we can set up a mobile application and integrate that very seamlessly into the web presence, as well as other means of integration so that the point of sale system, for example, is highly integrated to the mobile app or tablet app, which is also highly integrated to the website. These are just a few examples again, and we can even do some really cool things where you basically have the IoT integration capability for certain customers to be able to receive a delivery whenever the item inventory gets low enough using an IoT type of model. The bottom line is we can pretty much do anything that is physically possible. We can make it happen with this platform, and it really is going to be something that depends on what makes the most sense for your business. We've been doing this for a very long time, and we've had a lot of success with it. And we recommend setting up a discovery, a complimentary discovery, and a strategy session so you can get a feel for what's going to be best for your business based on our experience and based on our kind of view of what's occurred, what's gone well, what hasn't for other clients. We certainly welcome you to reach out to us if you're interested. And of course, as always, we look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thanks, and bye for now.